community leader who got bit multiple times by a spider and ended up in the ICU. Family and friends now at the hospital praying for her recovery.
A caution now that the effects of the spider's bite may be quite disturbing for some to see.
Mother recovering after being bit by a venomous spider.
This woman says she almost lost the use of her limb.
Yo, what's up, internet? All right, so here's the deal. Today we're diving into some seriously gnarly brown recluse spider bite stories. And trust me when I say, these aren't your typical, oh, I got bit by a spider stories. Nope. We're talking flesh-eating venom, surgeries, ICU stays, the works. I mean, we're diving into something so insane it'll make you want to check under your bed and burn all your clothes twice. That's right, we're talking about killer spider bites. Yeah, you know those tiny little brown recluse spiders that look harmless, right? Wrong. These spiders' venom's out here like, hey, I'm just gonna ruin your life real quick, no big deal. And listen, the stories you're about to hear, they're so wild, you might want to sit down and brace yourself because, seriously, it's like Jaws but with spiders. You got people almost losing limbs, waking up with faces looking like they survived the apocalypse, and more necrotic tissue than your last horror movie binge. Spoiler alert, some of these images might be a little too graphic for the squeamish. It's all educational though, so YouTube, calm down. We're just here to learn, with a little side of, oh my god, that's horrifying. Seriously though, some of the stuff we're about to show might be a little too graphic for some folks, so if you're squeamish, grab a pillow, or maybe just cover your eyes. Viewer discretion is advised, people. Let's get into it. So if you just ate lunch, or you're, a functioning human being, maybe keep a bucket nearby, just in case. But hey, don't worry, we're not going to traumatize you too much, well, maybe just a little. So without further ado, let's get into it. People versus spiders, the terrifying brown recluse edition. Buckle up, folks, it's going to get disturbing. Alright folks, get ready for a story that'll make you think twice before cleaning out that shed. So about 2 months ago, Jessica Rogue from Oconee County, Georgia was just trying to be a responsible adult, doing some good old cleaning in the shed behind her house. Pulling out stuff, sweeping around, classic weekend chores.
I had pulled all this stuff out and I was back there cleaning when I got bit. And I was on my hands and knees.
But then, out of nowhere, BAM! She feels something on her face, right next to her eye. And guess what? She just got up close and personal with one of the most venomous spiders in the US, the brown recluse. So there she is, minding her business, trying to clear out a messy web without realizing she's literally surrounded by spiders.
I was just in there sweeping, but I immediately felt something on my face next to my eye. So I felt like I got bitten.
It's July 1st, and within less than a day, she's in a full-on medical crisis. Her face, arms, throat, everything swelling up like a balloon.
There were spiders on me, and where I was, it was a real messy web, and so I was trying to clean that up, and I guess I didn't notice that spiders were in the web.
She gets rushed to Piedmont Athens Regional Hospital, and let me tell you, she's lucky to be alive.
Some people don't end up being as lucky as I am.
Jessica explains that she's been bitten by spiders before, so at first she's like, no big deal.
This is escalating. This is getting worse. And of course, at that time, I told him I really didn't know for sure. I've been bitten by spiders so many times, I had no idea what it was. I was like, there's no way it could have done that to me. But yeah, a brown recluse can do these things to you.
But as her condition worsens, she's like, okay, this is not normal. She admits, I've been bitten by spiders so many times, I couldn't even believe this was happening. But yeah, a brown recluse can absolutely wreck your day like this. And if that wasn't enough, the bite triggered swelling on her upper lip right where she has a non-cancerous tumor from a car accident years ago. Talk about a bad run of luck, right? And then, to top it off, her skin was covered in rashes that she says looked like little vampire bites, and don't even get her started on her eyes.
It looks like a little vampire bite. It's gotten a lot better. My eye is, I'm really worried about my eyes. I'm having a lot of pain.
She's in serious pain and super worried about them. The poor woman's in tears just thinking about it. But despite all the horror, Jessica's got a positive attitude. She's healing, physically and emotionally, and she knows it could have been a lot worse. She's thankful it was her, and not one of her 3 kids who got bitten. I'm very grateful this happened to me and not one of the children, she says, counting her blessings.
I am very grateful this happened to me and not one of the children. That would have been worse.
So yeah, next time you're doing some cleaning, maybe double check those cobwebs. You never know what kind of nightmare might be lurking in there. Alright, buckle up folks, because this next one's a wild ride. Picture this, it's probably more than 7 years ago, and Stephen McKellar, a guy from Nova Scotia, just wanted some fresh fruit for his family. Innocent, right? But, guess what? Sometimes those tasty snacks from the southern US come with a side of nightmare fuel. Yep, McKellar believes he got bitten by a brown recluse spider that decided to hitch a ride on his fruit. Yep, that's right, imported produce with a venomous stowaway. So, it's last Wednesday, and McKellar's getting ready for a family vacay. But suddenly he notices this tenderness on his leg. He shrugs it off, thinking it's just a bigger than usual mosquito bite. Fast forward to Thursday, his wife takes a look and it's not just some bite, it's this massive growing patch on his thigh, and she's like, that's definitely not a horsefly. We should probably be worried about this.
Felt a little tenderness on my leg, so just sort of brushed that off, and then, you know, it was tender there, so I looked and it just looked like an oversized mosquito bite.
I could tell that it was really bothering him, so that's when I thought this is probably something that's not a horsefly or something that we should be concerned about.
By Friday, McKellar's like, okay, maybe this Benadryl isn't cutting it. Off to the hospital he goes, and they're pumping him full of antibiotics and drugs. They even draw a circle around the bite to see just how fast the venom's spreading. And guess what? The venom? It's necrotic, meaning it's literally eating away at his skin. Gross, right? McKellar's lucky though. Sure, he's popping 10 pills a day and his stomach's a wreck, but at least he still has his leg. Some people lose limbs from this stuff. Turns out brown recluse spiders can chill out for months in hiding, waiting to strike. McKellar thinks one of these 8-legged nightmares was camping out in an old pair of shorts he had crumpled up on the floor. You know, because recluse spiders are all about that introverted, dark corner life. After this experience, McKellar and his wife did their homework and found out it could have been way worse. So they've got a message for anyone who buys fruit. Check your produce. Those spiders love to hitch a ride on grapes and bananas, apparently. And they're especially grateful their kids weren't the ones bitten by this creepy crawler. So, yeah, next time you're grabbing a snack, maybe give it a second look. You never know what might be hiding in your groceries. Alright, buckle up, because Darcy Campbell's brown recluse spider bite story that is more than 5 years old is like something out of a horror movie. But, you know, it actually happened. So picture this, Darcy's staying at a hotel in Georgia, just minding her own business, when suddenly, boom, she gets bitten by a brown recluse. Yeah, those sneaky little spiders strike again. At first she's like, okay, it hurts, but I'll deal. But in the back of her mind, Darcy's thinking, if I don't take care of this, I could actually lose my leg.
In the back of my mind, like, if I don't take care of it, like, I could lose my leg, or even a bigger part of my leg.
Like, legit lose her leg. And spoiler alert, she wasn't exaggerating.
There'll be some sharp pain here and there.
Her reaction to the bite was super rare, but it still messed her up for months. The infection just wouldn't let up, and she was dealing with sharp pains on and off the whole time.
It was just keeping me from, 1, losing my leg, losing even more tissue than I already had, because it ate down to my fat and muscle, and 3, just to keep me from, like, being deadly sick, because I was sick throughout the whole summer from it.
Darcy ended up going through 17 hyperbaric oxygen treatments. 17 people. Plus, she had to get surgery on top of that. The goal? Keep her from losing more tissue because, get this, the bite was eating down to her fat and muscle. Yeah, it was like her leg was being slowly devoured from the inside.
They were thinking I was going to get a skin graft. At one point they said, if it would have been any bigger, if you would have been any younger, way older, like, you could have lost your leg easily.
And that wasn't even the worst part. Darcy was sick all summer battling this thing. Now here's where Darcy proves she's a total badass. She was a rising high school senior, an athlete, and she wasn't about to let a little thing like a necrotic spider bite stop her from playing tennis. Even though, you know, her leg might not have healed right. She was all in, risking everything just to get back on the court.
You need to appreciate every day you have healthy.
Doctors even told her she was this close to needing a skin graft. If the bite had been any bigger, or if she had been younger or older, she could have lost her leg, no question. But after nearly 6 months of treatments, Darcy finally pulled through. Now, she's extra careful about storing her clothes and checking her bed sheets, because she's not looking for a repeat performance of that nightmare. And Darcy's takeaway after all that? Appreciate every day you've got when you're healthy. Seriously. Because you never know when some creepy little spider might come along and flip your life upside down. Alright people, get ready, because Dr. Mark Smith from Natchez Trace Veterinary Services has one wild case on his hands that happened a year ago, and it involves a small dog and a venomous bite. Picture this, Dr. Smith's in the clinic, examining this poor little dog that's all swollen and looking rough. And here's the kicker, It probably got nailed by a brown recluse spider or some other creepy crawly with toxic venom. Yeah, sounds like a nightmare, right? So, what's the deal with these bites? Well, after the bite happens, all this nasty bruising starts to spread around the area, and then, boom, tissue death. That's right, the tissue just up and dies. Dr. Smith shows us the mess, and it's thick and ugly under the skin. This poor pup couldn't even eat or open its mouth. I mean, imagine not being able to eat. Dogs live for food. So Dr. Smith is about to get all surgical on this situation. He's got to cut into the spot and let the nasty stuff drain out. Yep, they're gonna make an incision and basically let all that toxic junk ooze out of there. It's gross but necessary. And this could happen with other bites too, like from snakes or certain insects. So if your pet ever gets bit, this might be what you're dealing with. Pain, swelling, and a whole lot of discomfort. But here's the good news. With proper treatment, most pets pull through like little champs. And if you've got a pet and something sketchy happens, Dr. Smith says to give Natchez Trace Veterinary Services a call. They've got your back when your fur babies get into trouble.
If you need any more advice or you have any more questions about your pets, feel free to contact us, Natchez Trace Veterinary Services, 615-750-2248, and thank you for watching this video.
All right, y'all, buckle up because this story is going to take you on a roller coaster of emotions. So it's 2 years ago, and we've got Susie Felch, a beloved community leader, full of life, running a nonprofit, and just doing the whole changing the world thing. But then, out of nowhere, bam! Her life took a nosedive thanks to, wait for it, 15 brown recluse spider bites. Yeah, you heard that right, 15. So, here's what went down. Susie, who's out there getting hundreds of emails and phone calls daily because she's just that important, went from living her best life to being in a medically induced coma in the ICU. Family and friends, freaking out. They're praying, keeping watch 24/7, hoping she pulls through. It all started with a fun little picnic trip to Mirror Lake with the fam. Everyone's just vibing, fishing, enjoying life, and then bam, fast forward a few days, Susie starts feeling sick. Naturally, everyone thinks it's just the flu or COVID or something, but nah, it's much worse than that. A week later, Susie's condition goes from bad to worse, so they rush her to the emergency room. Next thing you know, she's undergoing surgery after surgery, 7 of them to be exact, because that spider venom started eating away at her flesh. Let me paint you a picture. The wound was 1 foot long, 8 inches wide, and 7 inches deep. It looked like a shark took a giant bite out of her back.
It looks like, if you've ever seen a shark bite, it looks like somebody just came and took a huge chunk out of her back.
Like it was bad. But Susie, she's not just some average person. She runs PICTAR, a non-profit helping domestic violence and sexual assault victims, and she was even named one of Forbes' top 50 most influential women over 50. She's basically a superhero.
It's been really hard. Susie's like a big sister to me, and I love her deeply.
So seeing her like this, it hit everyone hard. Her family and friends were spending more time in prayer than they ever thought they would, just hoping for a miracle. Luckily, miracles happen. Susie started to make progress. She's out of surgery, she's communicating, and she's doing a whole lot better than anyone expected. No one knows how long she'll be in the hospital, but she's already telling people she wants to make it to the big event her organization's putting on to kick off Pacific Islander Heritage Month. She's like, yeah, I'll be there. Honestly, if anyone could pull that off after everything she's been through, it's Susie. But yeah, that's gonna take another miracle. And there you have it, Susie Felch, the woman who stared down 15 spider bites and told them, not today. All right, buckle up, because we've got Megan Lindsay, Season 8 runner-up of The Voice, telling us about how a freaking brown recluse spider tried to take her out. Seriously, this one's wild. So, Megan's all like, hey, I just got off The Voice, and out of nowhere, this part of my face, right here, she says, pointing right below her left eye, just started dying. Yeah, you heard that right. It's 8 in the morning. She wakes up with this intense stinging feeling. She looks over at her hand, and what does she see? A brown recluse spider just chilling out, dying after it bit her. Nature's rude like that. The stinging keeps getting worse throughout the day, and Megan's thinking, okay, this can't be good.
That's when I got up and went to the emergency room. The doctors couldn't tell me whether it was gonna get worse or not. They just said everybody reacts differently.
So off to the ER she goes. The doctors? Yeah, they're super helpful. They tell her, we don't know if it's gonna get worse or not. Everybody reacts differently. Oh, awesome, thanks for that reassuring info, right? Meanwhile, every day it's just getting worse for Megan. She's got a full body rash, welts on her throat, shooting pains in her shoulder blades like straight up nerve pain. And to top it off, by day 7, there's this black patch of dead skin on her face. Necrosis had officially entered the chat.
My doctor confirmed that I had necrosis.
Finally, Megan finds a specialist who knows what's up. They immediately put her in a hyperbaric chamber, you know, like something out of a sci-fi movie. And after a few treatments, things finally start getting under control. But let's be real, this whole experience was a nightmare. Megan's like, yeah, this was challenging, but it really helped me connect with some awesome people and find peace. Like just living in the moment and taking things as they come. Way to turn a terrifying spider bite into some deep life wisdom, right?
This whole experience obviously was very challenging, but I think in the end of the day, it really helped me to connect to a lot of awesome people and find my peace. It's like just living in the moment and taking each thing as it comes.
And that's it. Megan Lindsay went toe-to-toe with a brown recluse and came out with not just a gnarly story, but a new outlook on life. Lesson learned? Stay away from brown recluses and maybe don't let a spider redefine your face if you can help it. Alright, so picture this. It's 7 years ago, and we've got John Dean ready to drop his insane brown recluse spider bite story. And oh man, it's a ride. So it's the first weekend of spring, right? John's all set to do some classic weekend warrior stuff. He's getting ready to mow the lawn for the first time of the year. He heads out to the barn, probably just thinking about the yard work ahead, when bam, something way worse than weeds happens. He ends up getting bit by a brown recluse. And it didn't just ruin his weekend, oh no. This thing took a chunk out of his leg and wrecked 2 weeks of his life. John's like, a spider bite, really? Never thought that would happen to me. Now here's the thing about brown recluses. The name says it all. They're not out here looking for trouble. These little guys stay hidden, trying to avoid humans like the plague. But accidents happen, especially when we're out there messing with clothes, clutter, or shoes, and that's when people end up on the wrong end of a bite. At least that's what Dr. Douglas Guillen from Truman Medical Center says. He's like, yeah, most bites are accidental because the spiders hide in stuff like your shoes and you accidentally brush up against them.
Our encounters with them as people tend to be accidental. You brush up against them. One of the more common ways that people get bit is they're in clothing or clutter, inside shoes.
Back to John. He didn't even feel the bite when it happened. Dude just wakes up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., feeling like absolute crap. He's got a fever and his leg straight up on fire, but that's how these bites go. Dr. Guillen explains that most people don't realize they've been bitten because it doesn't hurt at first. And here's the wild part. The venom is still kind of a mystery. We're not even sure exactly what part of it is bad, but we know it causes cell destruction, and that's enough to ruin your day, or in John's case, weeks. John pulls out his phone and shows off a pic of his leg. This bite was right on his hamstring, and he's thinking he might have sat on the spider. Oof. At first it was just a red spot, but then it started getting real bad. Necrosis kicked in, the skin turned black, and the infection started spreading like crazy. John's freaking out because the redness was moving up his leg and his lymph node up by his groin. Yeah, that thing was turning black and blue, super painful. So obviously dude's concerned this necrosis is just gonna keep going. Now Dr. Guillen breaks it down for us. The dark spot in the middle of the bite, that's where the necrosis is doing its worst. And depending on how big that area gets, sometimes they've got to cut out the dead tissue. And let me tell you, that leaves a gnarly wound that takes a long time to heal. If it's bad enough, you might even need a skin graft. John's hoping to avoid all that, but you know he's on edge about what the doc's gonna say next. Cut to a later scene, and John's about to get examined again. He's talking to a news reporter like, yeah, I'm real anxious to see what the doc's gonna say today. The reporter asks, has he told you where they take the graft from? And John, this guy hits back with a joke.
Has he told you where they would take that from? The graft for that?
Yeah, he said a news reporter.
Well, we're gonna make sure we have the same blood type.
And everyone cracks up. Classic moment. So, yeah, moral of the story, brown recluse bites are no joke. They'll mess you up when you least expect it. But hey, at least John's got a sense of humor about it. Stay safe, folks. Check your shoes and maybe leave the barn to the spiders. All right, imagine this. It's 3 years ago and Dr. Joseph Nemeth, yeah, the periodontist, drops this wild story about one of his patients. But here's the kicker. It's not even about teeth this time. Nope. This dude got straight up attacked by a brown recluse spider. And let's just say things escalated real fast.
So we noticed this scar, and he said a number of years ago he was bitten by a brown recluse spider sitting on his porch.
So this guy is just chilling on his porch, you know, minding his own business. He doesn't feel a thing, doesn't even see the spider, but bam, that sneaky brown recluse tagged him. And just like that, his leg's on a one-way trip to Infection Town. The guy doesn't notice anything at first. He's living his best life on Saturday, all good. But by Sunday, oh man, things started to get ugly. The spot's getting red, a little painful. Still not a big deal, right? Fast forward to Monday and the situation just leveled up. The dude's leg is on fire, so bad he couldn't even walk. Now he's like, all right, time for the ER. He rolls in, they clean it out, pack it up, thinking it's just some regular infection. Easy fix, right? Wrong. This thing is spreading like wildfire. This time they're not playing around. They go full-on surgeon mode and carve a chunk out of his leg, like half an inch deep.
Tuesday, he went to emergency, and they cut a chunk out of his leg about, maybe a half an inch or more deep.
And get this, if he had waited just one more day, the doc said they might have had to amputate his leg. Can you imagine? Dude was this close to losing his leg, all because of a little spider bite he didn't even feel. Brown recluse bites, man. They don't mess around. Now Dr. Nemeth, the tooth guy, is just sitting there like, I've never seen anything like this. He's usually working on gums, not legs. But this story? It blew his mind. And he's like, stay away from brown recluses, people. Not that you really get a choice when they decide to show up.
I just thought this was really, really interesting. I thought it was, and hopefully you do too. Stay away from brown recluse spiders.
So, moral of the story, keep your distance from brown recluses if you can. Keep your legs intact, and oh yeah, don't forget to take care of your mouth. Dr. Nemeth's got you covered on that front. Stay healthy, folks. All right, so we've got Jeremiah Rivera from Capoli going head-to-head with what might just be the scariest brown recluse spider bite story this side of Hawaii. Yeah, I know, brown recluses aren't even supposed to be in Hawaii, but Jeremiah's leg clearly didn't get that memo. It all started when Jeremiah's walking around minding his own business in Capoli, and suddenly he feels this tiny poke on his leg. At first he's like, it's probably nothing, just a little sticker or something. But then he takes a closer look and boom, there's a little red bump staring back at him. He shrugs it off, right? Big mistake, my friend. Fast forward a bit and that innocent little bump? Yeah, it starts getting real nasty, real fast. The spot starts blistering, and before he knows it, the blister pops and things get seriously ugly. Next thing you know, it's 4 a.m., and Jeremiah wakes up with a leg twice the size of his normal one. He looks down, and what used to be just a bump is now a full-blown hole the size of a quarter. He's in excruciating pain, so he's like, okay, screw this, I gotta go to the hospital. Now, lucky for Jeremiah, his timing was on point because when he gets to the hospital, the doc's like, bro, if you waited any longer, we might have been talking amputation here.
He was worried that the redness from the wound that you saw, if it would have started going up, then it could have been a bigger problem to where, yeah, you can lose some limbs if it gets to that point.
Yeah, apparently the redness was spreading fast, and if it kept going, it could have cost him a limb. No joke. Rivera was this close to losing a chunk of his leg to a spider bite. A spider bite. But hold up, it gets weirder. So Sam Spangler, who's a KCHON2 news reporter, hits up this entomology professor, Dr. David Rubinoff, and he's like, nah man, we've never recorded a brown recluse in Hawaii. You probably got bit by some other brown spider, maybe a Mediterranean recluse, but those aren't even supposed to cause that kind of damage.
We've never recorded the brown recluse in Hawaii, so nobody's ever caught one. There is the related Mediterranean recluse here, but it isn't known to cause the same level of damage to people.
Tell that to Jeremiah's leg, dude. And that's the kicker. Whatever bit him, it almost wrecked his life. Rivera's got some solid advice after all of this. If something's weird with your skin, don't play tough guy, get to a doctor ASAP. Rivera's still rocking compression socks to deal with the pain a month later. Moral of the story? If something's oozing or streaking red up your leg, don't wait. Get it checked out, because you don't want to end up in a fight for your leg against some mystery spider. Alright, so check this out. There's a whole lot of stuff for people to freak out about when it comes to venomous critters. And no, we're not just talking about snakes. Oh no, there are spiders too. Like black widows chilling in your backyard, maybe even kicking it in your house. And you know Dr. Bush? Yeah, he's got to know his spiders too. But his big headache? The brown recluse. This little guy's got venom that packs a punch, but what's worse is its rep. People are way more scared of it than they need to be. Like they hear brown recluse and think it's game over. So this 19-year-old girl, Summerlee, rolls into the ER with this painful swollen belly. And yeah, spiders are venomous, but their venom isn't out here trying to take you out, just trying to make you really uncomfortable.
This one was like on my, like right here, and I went to move it, like to try to get it off me, and it like leaped over to right there, and it bit me, and I felt it, and I like, the only thing I could do was squish it.
Yeah. But here's the thing, everyone and their mom thinks they've been bitten by a brown recluse, even when they don't live anywhere near it. Spoiler alert, they don't even live in California.
I noticed that it got like a hard bump, but then it just kept getting bigger and bigger and hurting worse and making me like more nauseous, and I just like started to get really sick, and my friends brought me down here and said you have to go down there.
Is it painful over here?
No, it's just one sharp pinch, it's all it.
Does it hurt when I push on your belly over here, or just was it
No.
mostly around the side?
It's just right here, all the way down. Like right here.
All right. What did the spider look like?
It was brown and it had like a pointy butt, but it was real fat, and it had like a white V-neck, V or something. I don't remember. It was like brown though. It was huge.
Do you have any other symptoms?
But Dr. Sean Bush has got to deal with it because once people think they've been bitten, it's like convincing them the earth isn't flat. And oh man, treating spider bites, that's a nightmare. You can't even really tell what bit someone unless it's a black widow, because that's the only spider that has an anti-venom. But whatever the bite, Sean's got this. He's like, infection? Poof, I can handle that. The reason he's so on top of it, dude knows his stuff. Like, he actually reads the science, nerd alert, and works with spider experts.
Now you saw this spider jump on you and you saw it bite you, huh?
Yeah, no, I felt it.
Oh,
I
you
didn't
felt
see it bite me, but I felt it. It
You don't happen to have a spider.
No.
We're gonna give you some antibiotics.
Less than an hour after Summerlee walked into the ER, guess what? She's on her way home, antibiotics in hand, like, peace out. Now here's the deal. People have some serious, legit fear when it comes to creepy crawlies, and okay, when it comes to rattlesnakes, that fear is probably fair. But spiders? Come on, most of the time it's not even close to what people think. But hey, doctor.
Well, I don't really know if it's a spider bite or not. I mean, she believes that a spider bit her. It's very common for people to believe that they've been bitten by a brown recluse spider, even in places where the spider doesn't live. In fact, it's overdiagnosed in epidemic proportions by doctors across the United States. And the fact is, in this immediate area, there are no recluse spiders.
Bush is out here setting people straight, one spider bite at a time. All right, picture this. It's way back in the day, years ago, but people are still losing their minds over venomous critters. So Sean's out in Texas chilling like, no big deal, but meanwhile, back in Loma Linda, total chaos. ER's buzzing, people are freaking out. No snake bites yet, but guess what? Someone's convinced they've been bitten by a spider. And not just any spider, nope, it's always the brown recluse. Spoiler alert, brown recluses didn't even live in California back then either.
I was noticed in the house.
Okay.
I don't think this is a spider bite.
They were still vibing in the Midwest, in places like Texas, where everything can kill you. Now Sean, being the OG snake and spider wrangler that he was, used to run into brown recluses at his mom's place. So one day, he's all like, yo, let's go spider hunting in my mom's shed, and why not? The place was like a spider Airbnb, perfect conditions. And of course, Sean being Sean, finds one. Dude's geeking out like, look at that violin pattern. It's a brown recluse for sure. 6 eyes, light brown. This guy could stand on a quarter. How cool is that?
Ah, there's one. Now that's definitely a brown recluse spider. You can see the violin pattern at the front of the head. And to be for sure, you'd have to look under a microscope and count the eyes. Brown recluse have 6 eyes, whereas other spiders have 8 eyes. And there are 3 pairs in the front of the head. They're kind of light brown in color, and they could stand on top of a quarter. There he goes. Cool. That's very cool.
But the thing is, back in those days, brown recluse bites were still super rare. Like, even then, people were more scared of their reputation than the actual spider. Sean's explaining, these guys, they're not out here hunting humans. They just want to be left alone. But everyone acts like it's the X-Files, thinking these things are sneaking into their beds at night.
The bites by the brown recluse are not very common. And part of that's because of the spider's nature. It's a reclusive spider. They shun human interaction. They don't want to be around people. They don't prey upon us. They don't parasitize us. They just bite in defense. They're trying to get away. The most thing that makes the brown recluse different from other spiders in the States is its infamy. I mean, everybody knows the brown recluse. It's like the X-Files. People just want to believe that these alien spiders are creeping up on them while they sleep and biting them.
And then, back in Texas, Sean catches up with his mentor, Dr. Greg Hobbs, to talk shop about spider bites. Hobbs was the go-to guy back in the day for anything venomous. Sean's like, "How many real brown recluse bites have you seen?" Hobbs, with 20 years of experience under his belt, goes, "About 200 maybe."
So, how many confirmed brown recluse spider bites have you treated?
Ones that I was 100% sure that it was a brown recluse, over a course of 20 years, probably about 200.
And then he's like, "But you wouldn't believe how many people think they've been bitten by one. Probably 10,000 or more."
So in contrast with that, I mean, how many people come in here that think they've been bitten by a brown recluse?
Suspected brown recluse bites, probably 10,000.
Or more, I imagine.
Or more, yeah. We'll see 3 or 4 a day sometimes who think they've been bitten by a brown recluse.
Even way back then, the real bites were few and far between, but when they happened, it was bad. Just ask Suzette Clark. Years ago, she got hit with the triple threat, 3 brown recluse bites over the course of a few months. It all started while she was sleeping in bed with her husband. And next thing she knows, her skin's turning black. She's in and out of hospitals, and boom, surgery.
I'd been working out in the flower bed, so I thought maybe I got into a rash or, into something. But the next morning I had a headache. I was deathly sick. There was a constant burning pain, so I went to a local hospital. And they told me it was nothing to worry about. They looked at it, go home, you're okay. I let it go almost the 2 weeks before I went to a different hospital. And as soon as I walked in the door, they said it was probably a brown recluse. It was all black by then and spreading. So within, 24 hours, they did surgery on it. When it kept repeating, it was like, what have I done? Why is it only me, not my son, not my husband? Thank God it wasn't my son. And each time I was bit, it was the same burning sensation, the same being sick. By the end, I knew what to look for.
And what did her husband do? He and his buddies went full-on Ghostbusters back in the day with flashlights and everything, hunting for spiders at night. They find a whole crew of brown recluses just chilling behind their headboard.
They got flashlights and started looking in dark corners, secluded places. Any place that was dark or damp is where they started looking at.
They catch them, take them to the doctor, who's like, "You brought me what now?"
I walked in and told the doctor, "Could this be what's biting me?" He thought I was nuts. He goes, "I can't believe you brought them in here." And then they called an animal research center and had them check it out, and they verified that it was a brown recluse.
And yep, they confirmed it was brown recluses. Total horror show.
I was shocked at how much damage a spider bite could do to you. This was the first bite. There was 3 here and then those 2. The second time, it was these 3, and the third time was those 2. And now I have to deal with the disfigurement the rest of my life.
Poor Suzette was left dealing with all kinds of messed up scars for life. Hobbs explained that the venom just liquefies your tissue. Like, one day you've got a small bite, and next thing you know, it's a crater in your skin.
The venom has an enzyme in it that actually just liquefies the tissue, basically, and just eats it away. So you start out with a small blister, and then that turns black, and then that blister sinks below the level of skin, so you get a little crater, actually, in your skin, and then that can just progressively enlarge, and then that all just sloughs off and leaves a deep crater all the way down into the muscle, so the muscle belly itself is exposed. And then that's a very slow healing process and requires plastic surgery and skin grafting to actually close the wound up. Well, diagnosing a brown recluse spider bite is very difficult because the spiders are very small. They're nocturnal, so they're only out at night, and the bite is not particularly painful. So people come in and say, well, I think I was bitten by a brown recluse spider. And I say, well, did you see the spider? No. So very seldom do we get a definitive diagnosis. The problem is that not only is it not a painful bite, but the lesion starts out very small, almost like an ant bite. And 95 to 98% of the time it just goes away. But in a small percentage, they can develop very large lesions. And the largest I've seen is about that big.
And back then, forget about fancy treatments. People were trying everything from hyperbaric oxygen to leprosy meds. Seriously, who thought of that? And even electric shock. Spoiler alert, none of it worked.
There have been a number of treatments that have been recommended for brown recluse spider bites. Hyperbaric oxygen has been recommended. A medication called Dapsone, which is used to treat leprosy, among other things, has been recommended. People have used electric shock. And what we found, unfortunately, was that none of those treatments make any difference. So the treatment for brown recluse bites at this point that we recommend is just good wound care. Keep it clean, watch it. If it starts to get infected, you need antibiotics. If it starts to be enlarged, then you need to see a plastic surgeon.
So yeah, even years ago, Sean and his crew were dealing with the same thing. Tons of myths about these spiders, but very few actual cases. Sean's just out here, setting the record straight, keeping it real for everyone who thought their lives were a horror movie.